Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here, and welcome to a brand new episode of LJV's Monday Night Classic Reviews, where every Monday night I go back in time and review a women's wrestling figure of the past, like Elite Series 73 Peyton Royce. Now here's the thing, early on in the channel I did do a review of Billy and Peyton's Elites. And in that review, it was a tag team co-op effort with myself and the Treasurer, and the Treasurer was the one who reviewed this Peyton. So this will be the first time that I've ever reviewed this Peyton Royce Elite in LumberJillville, so I definitely had to get another one. I obviously already had it in my collection, but I did buy one carded. That way we could open it up, give you the whole experience like I did Billy last week. And yeah, I'm super stoked, and I can't believe I've actually never individually reviewed this figure in LumberJillville. So yeah, last week's review of the Billy really got me itchy, really brought back the nostalgia for how much I love the Iconics, so I ordered the Peyton. It is here. Now let's take a closer look at this figure, and let's start off with the packaging.
Welcome to my Figure Facts, where I share interesting details on the figure at hand and the superstar themselves. Here are some neat tidbits on Mattel Elite Series 73 Peyton Royce. Released in 2020, this was Peyton's only Elite. Peyton and Billy are real-life best friends. They even went to the same high school together in Australia. Her and Billy were the first Australian team to win a championship at WrestleMania, when her and Billy won the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 35. Now back to Mayor Aaron for the unboxing and review.
So it's important to note that I did buy this figure off of the old Edward Bay, and it was listed as not in very good condition, and that's perfectly fine with me. The guy accepted a very good offer, and I was going to open it up anyway, so just so you know, that's why the box is a little beat up. It's got some wear on it. Not a huge deal for me because we are taking the figure out. But this packaging, just like the Billy K Elite, brings back all the nostalgia, all the memories of the start of LumberJillville. This came out in 2020, right when I was starting the channel, and this was the Elite sets that were at the stores. Now this Peyton in particular, I never did find in Target. I did find the Billy, but the Peyton I didn't. And honestly, this Peyton Elite, the other one that was reviewed by the Treasurer in LumberJillville, that was like the first women's wrestling figure I got off of eBay. I swear. Like if I go back on my eBay bought listings and you go way, way back, this was the first Elite that I bought on eBay for LumberJillville. So yeah, definitely a lot of nostalgia here, but I love this packaging. I love this big open window. I miss these days, y'all. I love the red and the white theme, and as I mentioned before, especially because it reminds me of the women's division. It reminds me of the Raw Women's Championship, so I really like this color scheme for the Elites at the time. Now, obviously, what's really different of the Elites back then to now there's a picture or a photo included of the superstar. Back then, they didn't have that on the front of the package, but to me that was okay because it really did put the figure on full display. The Peyton figure looks awesome. We have her name there. We do have an image of the stunning and beautiful and talented Peyton Royce on the side. On the other side, we have an image of her as well. And then on the back, we have a little bio. I'll give you a minute to read that. We have where she's from, her height, her career highlights, and then we have that little blurb there. So yeah, this box, as you can see, does have some wear and tear, but what we're going to do is we are going to... And by the way, I think this was when Elites were like $15, y'all. $15. Elites at one point, at least at Walmart, were $15. I know this is a Target exclusive, but I digress. Alright, so that's all we need to do. So I'm going to get Peyton out. Let's take a closer look. Mattel WWE Elite Series 73 Collector's Edition Peyton Royce, released in 2020. This attire is from the Evolution all-women's pay-per-view, which took place on October 28, 2018 from Uniondale, New York. On this night, Peyton would compete but be immediately eliminated from the 20-woman Battle Royal. Nia Jax ultimately won, gaining herself a Women's Championship match opportunity. Alright, some overall first impressions of this figure. I mean, I love this figure. I think the resemblance is striking. I love all the detail and character that went into this figure. Absolutely freaking love it. Love, love, love it. But there are a few things I am going to say. The first thing is the ankles are so loose. The joints are so loose, especially in the lower body. And I know that sounds weird, but here's the thing. The very first Peyton Elite I had, I could barely display her alongside Billy on my shelves because those ankles were so loose. And this one is no better. I mean, she needs some work to do. I need to tighten those joints somehow. So she doesn't stand the best. So that's a little unfortunate. Another thing is, I said this in the Billy Elite, Why did they not put them in matching gear? Why did they put them in gear from different nights? That drives me nuts. You know, there have been times where they've came out to the ring in maybe different colored gears, but this isn't one of those times. These are from completely different nights. So it's one of those, I think maybe like an OCD type thing where it bothers me having a women's tag team on the shelf displayed together and they're not wearing their tag team gear that matches. That drives me nuts. But either way, so this Peyton comes with a lot of goodies, even more so than the Billy. So right off the bat, you can see she comes with this WWE microphone here, 3-sided triangular pattern. She comes with a unique hand for her right side and an extra unique hand for her left. She also comes with a grasping hand on her left and then a semi-open on the right. Now, she does come with the Iconics t-shirt cut in a very intricate, cool way, which we will take off, and I'll show you what else she comes with here. All right. So, yeah, I love how this is cut. I think it's really cool, and especially when you read the stories or hear about how a lot of times they would just cut their shirts up backstage to make them look different, really make them stand out. So I love that they incorporated that in the design. I think that looks super, super awesome there. We got the Iconics logo. And then she also comes with, we're going to call this a train, right? We're going to call this a train. And it's actually sculpted with a lot of unique detail. I think this is the one and only time they use this piece. At least so far in LumberJillville, I've never came across this piece on a Mattel Women's Elite figure. So that's super cool that we got this unique piece on top of a soft goods shirt. You know, that's attention to detail and love and care put into a women's figure that, you know, we often don't get. So I really think that's awesome. It's cool that it comes right off like that. And then, yeah, I mean, you look up close on it and it's got tons of really cool details. So definitely an A+ with the accessory department. Now let's look at that face sculpt, face scan, and hair sculpt. All right, so as far as her face sculpt, face scan, and hair sculpt goes, I think it is amazing. I think it is honestly one of the best face sculpts and scans that they've ever done on a Mattel women's figure. Now, I know I've said that from time to time, but what really sets this sculpt and scan apart from the Billy Kay is the emotion, the expression. Look how happy she looks. Look how she's smiling. It really does portray her character, her personality, and I love that. The Billy Kay sculpt and scan was fantastic, but it is in kind of just a serious type look, and that's really not what the Iconics were going with, right? So I do like that we have some emotion there. We get the nice, beautiful Peyton smile. I think the scan here is printed on excellent, and I really do love this sculpt. So I really, really like that. Now, the hair sculpt is also really cool. It is a jet black color, but it's definitely got a lot of curls, a lot of detail in the sculpt going all the way down her back. But yeah, as far as her face scan and face sculpt and hair sculpt goes, one of the best in my opinion. Super underrated. Now I will say, because the way the hair sculpt is, she can't really look up like at all. And I know range of motion is not a big deal, but if you're trying to pose her in a certain way, she really can't look up. She's kind of, you'll find more often than not that her head kind of looks down just because of the way the sculpt sits on her. So that's one negative, but overall, love it. Alright, so moving on down to the body sculpt and the attire, I will say I think this is where the figure is a little worse than that Billy Kay. I think that overall head is better than the Billy. I like it more at least. But as far as the body sculpt and the attire goes, I think it falls a little short when compared to that Billy. Mostly because that Billy Kay has so much unique sculpting in the chest and the upper body and even the midsection. And here we just get reused parts that we've seen on literally hundreds of WWE Women's Elites. You know, generic chest sculpt, generic midsection. So that's a little disappointing. I wish she would have gotten the same treatment with the Billy and gotten some unique sculpting for her upper body. But the attire does look fantastic, I will say that. So zooming on in, you can see that she has this red base attire with white trim, silver accents. On her arm, we have this red sleeve with those silver feather accents and the white trim. Also, on her upper body, that red, the silver feathers with the black accents there, and then the white trim, white spots on the top of the upper strap border. Going around the back, we have some detail there on the upper body attire, and then we even have the strap going around kind of the upper torso there. Moving on down to the bottoms, they are painted a little higher like she wore them. And these, once again, have really good paint detail there. And one thing I am going to say that shouldn't be understated is I'm so glad they went with a metallic silver for those feather patterns on the top, on the sleeve, on the bottoms, because that's what it looked like. And more often than not, I kind of expect Mattel to put out gray. So I'm glad that we have a metallic silver there that really makes the attire pop and stand out. Love it. Moving on down, we have white leg sleeves going down to the boots. Let's see, Iconics. Okay, it is spelled correct. Iconics, it is spelled correct. Now, unfortunately, my Billy Kay, that peg right there is blank. So I thought that's how they both would be, but it's not. So on here, it does say Iconics on both boots, and it looks rather nice. So yeah, as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, attire is awesome, beautiful. Body sculpt leaves a little bit to be desired, to be completely honest with you. So now let's do a little side-by-side comparison. So on the left, we have Peyton's first figure in the line, her only other figure by Mattel WWE at the time of this recording, and Battle Pack Series 61. Now, I brought out the Billy Kay Battle Pack 61 during the Billy Kay review, and I'm going to do the same with Peyton. And the one thing I said in that Billy Kay review was how much my daughter loved that 2-pack, the Billy and Peyton. She'd take them in the bathtub, she'd play with them, and you couldn't really tell on the Billy, but if you look at this Peyton, there's definitely some wear and tear on her top, you know, her hair a little bit, so you can tell that this figure was played with, and all the nostalgia feels are coming back to me. As this figure's in front of me, I'm just having flashbacks of my little girl just playing with these figures and taking them around with her, so definitely makes my heart happy seeing that. But if you compare the two figures, there's no contest here. The Elite is the better figure overall. Now, I will show you up close this Battle Pack one, which is a basic style figure, obviously. The attire is just painted on, which we mostly get in the basic or the main event line. Got the blue base with the red feathers and the white trim on the arm sleeve. You can see there, blue, red, and white. Same with the bottoms there. But the back of the bottoms are really cool, having the flag there and then that design. The leg sleeves are white. And then, let's see. Okay, her boots do say the Iconics, whereas the Billy Kays say the Icoics on her basic figure from the Battle Pack. So, at least they spelled the Iconics right on this Peyton Royce. And then we have that little design there. So, I don't know. I think it's something, if you're a fan of the Iconics, I would, oh no, see, I told you, weak ankles. Weak ankles. She needs to do some exercises on her ankles. We're just going to lean them against the ropes, okay? But if you're a fan of the Iconics, I would absolutely get the Elites and the Battle Pack, because at least with the Battle Pack, y'all, at least their attire matches and they look like a tag team. You know, that does drive me nuts that this Elite Peyton really doesn't go with the Billy Elite. It drives me nuts. Now, obviously, you can put them together, and it looks fine. It looks great, but I wish they had matching attire or something to that degree. Now, also, I'm sure you might expect me to bring out the Billy Elite and the Billy Battle Pack figure to compare to this Peyton, but you know what? Just like the Billy review is all about Billy, this review is going to be all about Peyton. And also, I'm going to post some fig photography in the next week or so of these iconic figures, because I cannot wait to pose them together. So yeah, I think the Battle Pack was cool for what it was, but the nostalgia of it is just making me smile ear to ear. Seeing the wear on this figure that my daughter left, it just shows how special this figure is to me. So very, very cool. Alright, so now I talk about kind of the prices that this figure is going for in the secondary market. Basically, how you can get this figure and what price it's going for. So as far as my research goes, the last sold eBay listings of this Elite 73 Peyton Royce loose, you could get it for about $43 shipped. And mint on card or packaged, you're going to have to spend about $45 shipped, which that last sold listing of it packaged was bought by me. That's this one right here. So yeah, $45 shipped, and that was a really good price for it, honestly. I think I ended up paying $35 plus about $10 shipping, so that's why it came out to $45. But yeah, this figure is much more expensive than the Billy Kay Elite. Now, which one is better? That's debatable, because I love them both for what they are. And even though their attire really doesn't match or really doesn't go together, These figures are meant to be together. They're meant to be displayed together. And if you have the Billy, you need this Peyton. If you have this Peyton, you need the Billy. If you're a fan of women's wrestling figures, if you're a fan of the Iconics, if you remember how on top of the world they were as a team at one point. I've gone back and watched a lot of their promos, a lot of their mic work when they're walking to the ring. It is absolutely hilarious. They were truly one of a kind and an amazing tag team, and I absolutely think this figure is worth that price. And like I said, it's a little more pricey than the Billy, but it's absolutely worth it. You know, there's a lot of love I have for the Iconics and for this team, and the fact that they just made their return at TNA not too long ago is freaking awesome. And I'm crossing my fingers that they make their way back to the WWE, because when they do, because I think they will, the pop is going to be iconic. I hope you enjoyed today's Monday Night Classic review. Stay tuned, there's going to be plenty more in the future, along with a lot of extra additional videos that I'm going to kind of experiment with for the channel here. You know, while we're waiting for new women's wrestling figures to come out that I can review. Now, also, mark on your calendars, July 13th, the night of Evolution 2. I'm going to be doing a live stream watch-along party right here in LumberJillville. I'm going to be doing giveaways, we're going to have trivia, we're going to have a lot of fun, and I hope to see a lot of y'all there. You know, I had the opportunity to go, but I don't know, there was a lot going on, a lot of factors to play in, and at the end of the day, I want to watch it with all of y'all that have supported women's wrestling and supported LumberJillville. I want to watch it live with all of y'all, so I definitely look forward to seeing y'all there. Now, with that being said, thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Thanks for watching, and have a great night, y'all.